Now to our coverage on the New South Wales mid-north coast floods, and disaster assistance now has been activated for multiple local government areas in that region. People, of course, will be looking to their insurance companies for help to cover the costs. But it's an all too common scenario these days. Many are either underinsured or, Tom, they're not insured at all.
Yeah, seemingly all too common. The emergency, of course, continues to unfold. It is early days, but the claims are already coming in. Now, yesterday we spoke with Alicia Humphreys. Alicia's a cafe owner out in Taree who's been impacted by the floods.
So we do have business insurance, but unfortunately, like a lot of people around here, when it comes to flood coverage, it becomes quite difficult and quite technical. We're just working with our insurance company and everyone around and doing the best we can.
Okay, joining us now is the CEO of the Insurance Council of Australia, Andrew Hall. Andrew, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Tom.
Just off the back of what we heard there from Alicia, for people who might not have seen the interview, she owns a cafe in Taree, almost completely inundated by water. Just picking up on what she said there, do you think that's part of the issue? We'll talk about underinsurance and not having insurance in a moment, but she seems to feel as though the whole system's a little bit too complex to navigate during what is already a very tough time.
Well, when it comes to insurance for business, it's different to homes. When you have a business, you opt into things, and one of the things you can opt into is flood. And the challenge for insurers when we come to towns like Taree is that we know that the main street floods, and we know that those businesses will be wrecked by flood. Insurance is there for the things you can't expect to happen to your business and compensate you for that. But when we've got businesses that are sitting in a 5% or a 1% AEP, so a chance that they're going to flood, a 41% chance they'll flood in the next 10 years, that becomes very expensive to calculate the insurance for. This is why we've been having a very long conversation now over a number of years with both state and federal governments about what we need to do to build flood defences, particularly for these regional CBDs. It's the same story whether it is Taree, Kempsey, Lismore, Gympie, Maryborough. There are so many places up and down the east coast of Australia where we're looking at these CBDs, where there's been multiple flood studies done, there's multiple solutions on how to protect these shop owners, but we see very little action and very little investment happening.
Okay, there's a couple of things I want to pick up on there. Just first, the issue of, I guess, either underinsurance or not being insured at all. Is that becoming an increasing problem? Because these events are undoubtedly becoming more frequent.
Yeah, so we are seeing a problem emerge around underinsurance, and that is driven not only by the events, but by inflation. So over the last 3 or 4 years, building costs have gone up around about 40%. And I think people are underestimating what it really costs to rebuild or restore your property after an event happens. So we're seeing people who, in their minds, their home was insured, they've insured their home for about $500,000. When the rebuild comes, it's often a lot more than that, which is why we're now talking to state governments and we're seeing programs like one that was rolled out in Ingham after the floods in January up there, where the state government will give a grant to top up your insurance payout and you can build back better. This is the key here. We've spent a lot of money over many years in Australia doing cleanup, and we build the same thing back in the same location and seem to presume it's not going to happen again. When we build back these properties this time around, what we've got to do is invest more money into them so that they're more flood resilient. The challenge in Australia is that we put a lot of money into recovery. We're putting a lot of money into long-term net zero projects, which is important. But we're not putting enough money into the here and now, which is the resilience and mitigation, because these events are happening now. So we actually have to start getting, particularly our regional towns and communities, better equipped to be able to withstand these sort of flood and storm and wind events that are occurring.
So you've obviously suggested there that when it comes to that preventative action, you don't feel as though governments and authorities are doing enough. I want to ask you though, Andrew, do you feel as though we've gone down the wrong path or too far down the wrong path now. We've just got too many people who have built these homes, who are living in these high-risk areas, and it's simply not possible to protect them all or get them all to move. Have we gone too far down that path?
Look, we've taken 200 plus years to get to this point, and it will take a couple of decades to fix it up. We know when we look at our peril data that insurers have, and we've shared a lot of this now with the federal government. There are 220,000 homes that were built in high-risk flood areas on the east coast of Australia. 220,000 homes that we know have a 41% chance of being flooded in the next 10 years. Amongst those homes, we know that insurance rates are now sitting less than 1 in 4. We know that those people earn on average around about $56,000 a year. So in other words, people who can least afford to lose everything are living in homes that were built in the wrong location and often have very little flood defences available to them. In many cases, they have very little early warning systems that are working correctly as well. So we're seeing what happened in the Manning Valley play out again, where people are only getting limited warning and they're not able to move their contents out of their home, they're not able to shift their livestock fast enough, and they're paying a terrible price. So there is a range of things we can do. We put a proposal to both sides of politics in the lead up to the election where we said we need to build our flood defences. It's the natural thing that we should be doing in this country as we're facing into a climate future. We've got to build up our flood defences. It's our biggest challenge. And to do that, we've got to work with communities. They have to make the decision about what they want to do, whether it's building a flood levy, waterproofing homes, raising homes, and in worst case scenarios, we may have to consider buybacks like what's been happening in Lismore and in some of the suburbs in and around Brisbane. These are all the things that should be on the table, and it's a conversation. We need to have it now. When the floodwaters recede and all the volunteers and business owners and residents go in and clean up, the insurers come in and do the rebuild, then the sun comes out and we get on with life.
Okay.
We've got to break that cycle. We've got to be having these conversations in the dry times as well as the wet times.
Andrew, great to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.